Rain lashed against the towering skyscrapers, each drop a tiny drumbeat in the city's relentless rhythm. Neon signs, like fractured rainbows, cast a lurid glow on the wet asphalt, illuminating a world where truth and deception danced a dangerous tango. This was the arena where Lena Carter, a journalist with eyes as sharp as broken glass and a spirit forged in the fires of injustice, carved her path. Her reputation preceded her, a relentless pursuer of facts, a guardian against the encroaching darkness of corruption. Lena's world was one of late-night stakeouts, whispered conversations with anonymous sources, and the constant hum of a city that never slept. Her latest investigation, a tangled web of political and corporate greed, was about to push her to the very edge. The threads she pulled led to the highest echelons of power, where powerful figures moved like shadows, their actions shrouded in secrecy. Her findings, meticulously documented, promised to expose the rot that festered beneath the city's glittering facade. But as Lena prepared to unleash her explosive exposé, a counteroffensive began, designed to bury the truth and silence her voice. Smear campaigns, veiled threats, and accusations of fabricated evidence became her constant companions. Her integrity, once her greatest strength, was now the target of those who had much to lose. The city held its breath, unaware that a battle was brewing, a clash between truth and power, with Lena standing at the very center. This conflict was not just a story, it was a fight for the soul of the city. The city was a living, breathing entity, its arteries pumping with the relentless flow of ambition and desperation. Towering skyscrapers pierced the clouds, their glass facades reflecting a distorted image of the world below. Beneath the glittering surface, a labyrinth of dark alleys and hidden corridors whispered secrets, the breeding ground for the city's underbelly. It was a place where fortunes were made and lives were ruined, where power was the ultimate currency. This was Lena Carter's hunting ground, the place where she pursued the truth with unwavering determination. Lena, a child of the city, had witnessed its injustices firsthand. Her father, a small-time journalist, had been silenced for exposing a minor scandal, a lesson that had burned into her soul. This fueled her desire to become a force for good, a voice for the voiceless. She had a network of contacts, from street vendors to disillusioned politicians, all providing her with the pieces of the puzzle. Her apartment, a chaotic sanctuary, was filled with files, maps, and the scent of strong coffee, a testament to her tireless dedication. Her primary antagonist was Senator Marcus Thorne, a man of immense power and influence. His carefully crafted public image as a champion of the people masked a ruthless ambition and a willingness to do anything to maintain his grip on power. He was the embodiment of the city's corruption, a master manipulator who controlled the levers of power with a calculated precision. He was not just a political adversary, but a personal enemy to Lena. Lena's closest ally was Ben, a seasoned photojournalist who had seen it all. His quiet demeanor and sharp eye complemented Lena's relentless pursuit of truth. He had a network of contacts of his own, and he was always ready to support her, even when the danger was at its peak. Their partnership was built on mutual respect and a shared commitment to justice. They were the city's silent guardians, fighting for the light in the darkest corners. Their relationship was not just professional, but a deep bond forged in the crucible of their shared mission. The city's underbelly began to writhe as Lena's investigation intensified. Senator Thorne's public facade cracked, revealing a ruthless man willing to silence anyone who threatened his power. A key source, a former aide of Thorne, was found dead, an apparent suicide that Lena knew was a murder, confirming the danger she faced. Then, a hidden ledger surfaced, detailing Thorne's illicit dealings, but it was coded. Ben, with his expertise in vintage photography, discovered the code was based on old film development techniques, a secret Thorne had tried to bury. This revelation, however, put Ben directly in the crosshairs, forcing Lena to make a choice between exposing the truth and protecting her friend. The city was now a powder keg, ready to explode. Lena's primary goal was clear: expose Senator Thorne and dismantle his corrupt empire. Her initial obstacle was the coded ledger, a complex puzzle that seemed impenetrable. She and Ben worked tirelessly, deciphering the old film techniques, each decoded entry revealing a deeper level of deceit. This shared challenge deepened their bond, their unspoken understanding a shield against the growing danger. A subplot emerged with the introduction of Maria, a young activist who had lost her family due to the city's corrupt practices. Her fiery passion resonated with Lena, adding another layer to her motivation. Thorne, realizing his empire was threatened, launched a counterattack. He used his influence to manipulate the media, planting stories that painted Lena as a sensationalist and unreliable source. The pressure mounted, both professionally and personally. Lena's apartment was ransacked, her phone tapped, and she was followed, creating a sense of paranoia and isolation. Yet, she refused to be silenced, finding strength in her unwavering belief in the truth and the support of those who believed in her. She knew that the fight would be long and arduous, but she was prepared to face it head-on. Ben, while helping Lena, was also dealing with his own personal demons. His past was shrouded in mystery, a painful secret that he had kept hidden for years. The pressure of the investigation, coupled with the danger he faced, began to crack his carefully constructed facade. He had to confront his past, or it would jeopardize their mission. This subplot added another layer of tension to the narrative, revealing the vulnerabilities beneath the tough exterior. The city was not just a battlefield, but a place where personal struggles played out against a backdrop of corruption. The inciting incident arrived with a chilling phone call. A distorted voice, claiming to be a former associate of Senator Thorne, revealed a hidden location, a warehouse on the city's outskirts, where Thorne was storing incriminating evidence. The caller, clearly afraid, warned Lena that she was not safe and that she had to act quickly. This information was a game-changer, a direct challenge to Thorne's power and a dangerous opportunity for Lena. The status quo was shattered, replaced by a sense of urgency and impending danger. Lena knew that this was a trap, a calculated move by Thorne to silence her permanently. But the potential reward, concrete evidence to expose his corruption, was too great to ignore. She decided to act immediately, despite the risks. She and Ben prepared to go to the warehouse, their determination fueled by the knowledge that the truth was within their grasp. They understood that this was not just about exposing Thorne, but about protecting the city from his tyranny. The city's fate hung in the balance. Maria, upon hearing of Lena's plan, insisted on joining them. Her personal connection to the city's corruption made her a valuable asset, her anger and determination a force to be reckoned with. She had lost everything, and she was ready to fight for justice. The trio, united by their shared mission, embarked on their perilous journey to the warehouse, knowing that they were walking into a lion's den. The city held its breath, unaware of the confrontation that was about to unfold. The battle for truth had begun. The warehouse was a labyrinth of shadows and decaying machinery, a perfect setting for Thorne's illicit activities. Upon entering, Lena, Ben, and Maria discovered that the information was not a simple cache of documents, but a complex operation involving illegal arms trading. This discovery added another layer to Thorne's corruption, making him not just a political criminal but a dangerous international player. The initial goal of exposing local corruption now morphed into a larger, more dangerous game. The stakes had risen exponentially. As they began to gather evidence, they were ambushed by Thorne's security forces, a group of ruthless mercenaries led by a mysterious figure known only as the Enforcer. This new antagonist, a silent and deadly presence, posed a direct physical threat to Lena and her team. They barely escaped, leaving behind the evidence they had collected. This failure was a significant setback, testing their resilience and resolve. The initial confidence they had was shaken, replaced by a sense of vulnerability. A new subplot emerged with the introduction of Detective Miller, a police officer who had been secretly investigating Thorne for years. He had been waiting for the right moment to act, and Lena's investigation had given him the opportunity he needed. He contacted Lena, offering his support and inside information. This alliance was a double-edged sword. While it provided them with valuable resources, it also exposed them to potential betrayal within the police force. Trust was a precious commodity in this dangerous game. Ben's past began to catch up with him. The Enforcer recognized him from a previous encounter, revealing that Ben had a hidden history as a former operative. This revelation added another layer of complexity to his character, and his past now threatened to jeopardize their mission. Lena was forced to confront the fact that she didn't know everything about the people she trusted. This new challenge tested the strength of their bond. Maria's determination to fight for justice became more personal. She discovered that her family's death was directly linked to Thorne's arms-dealing operation, adding fuel to her already burning desire for revenge. She became more reckless, her actions driven by grief and anger. Lena had to balance her mission with the need to protect Maria from her own impulses. The city's pain was now a driving force for them. The consequences of their actions were now impacting not just them, but also the people around them. Lena's colleagues were now being harassed, and her sources were going silent. The fight for truth was becoming a fight for survival, and the city was holding its breath, waiting to see who would prevail. The lines between right and wrong were blurring, and the stakes were higher than ever before. The city was on the verge of collapse. The conflict escalated as Thorne tightened his grip on the city. He used his influence to frame Detective Miller for corruption, turning him from an ally into a fugitive. This betrayal forced Lena to question who she could trust, blurring the lines between friend and foe. The stakes were raised, not just for her, but for everyone who was helping her. The city was becoming a battleground. Ben's past came back to haunt him. The Enforcer, revealed to be a former comrade, confronted him, offering him a chance to rejoin his old life. Ben was torn between his loyalty to Lena and the allure of his past, creating a deep internal conflict. This subplot intensified the tension, adding a personal dimension to the larger fight. He had to choose between the darkness he had left behind and the light he was fighting for. Maria's reckless actions put her in danger. She attempted to confront Thorne directly, resulting in her capture. This act of defiance became a catalyst, forcing Lena and Ben to act decisively. Her capture was not just a personal loss, but a strategic blow, adding a layer of emotional urgency to their mission. The team was fractured, and their resolve was tested. The subplots began to intertwine. Lena discovered that Thorne was not just involved in arms dealing but also in human trafficking, using the city's vulnerable population as his pawns. This revelation added a moral dimension to the fight, making it clear that Thorne's corruption was not just about power and money, but about the exploitation of human lives. The stakes were now higher than ever before. Lena and Ben, working with limited resources, planned a daring rescue mission to save Maria and expose Thorne's operation. They knew that they were walking into a trap, but they had no other choice. The city was holding its breath, waiting to see if they would succeed. The fight was no longer just about truth and justice, but about survival and redemption. The city was on the edge of chaos. The tension among the characters reached its peak. Lena had to make difficult choices, risking her life and the lives of those she cared about. Ben had to confront his past, and Maria had to overcome her grief and anger. Their personal struggles were intertwined with the larger fight against corruption, making their journey even more challenging. The city was a mirror, reflecting the darkness within its heart. The rescue mission was a turning point. Lena and Ben infiltrated Thorne's headquarters, a heavily guarded skyscraper in the heart of the city. They faced numerous obstacles, including the enforcer, who was determined to stop them. The confrontation was intense, pushing them to their physical and emotional limits. Ben, forced to confront his past, used his skills to disarm the enforcer, choosing loyalty over his former life. This moment was a significant transformation, revealing the man he had become. Lena, during the rescue, discovered a hidden room containing irrefutable evidence of Thorne's crimes, including detailed records of his human trafficking operation. This discovery was a major victory, but it also made them a target. Thorne, realizing his empire was about to collapse, ordered his forces to eliminate them. The city was on the brink of a full-scale war. The climax was approaching fast. Maria, initially a victim, transformed into a fighter. She used her knowledge of the city's underground to help Lena and Ben escape, showing her resilience and determination. She was no longer just a victim, but a key player in the fight against corruption. This character development was crucial, highlighting the power of hope in the human spirit. The city was starting to fight back. Detective Miller, despite being framed, managed to send a message to Lena, revealing Thorne's escape plan. This act of courage was a significant turning point, offering Lena a chance to stop him before he disappeared. The alliance between Lena and Miller was now solidified, a testament to their shared commitment to justice. The city had its heroes. The final confrontation was set. Lena, Ben, and Maria, now a united force, prepared to face Thorne. They knew that this was their last chance to expose his crimes and bring him to justice. The city held its breath, waiting for the final showdown. The climax was about to begin. The characters had been transformed by the challenges they had faced. Lena had become a symbol of hope, Ben had embraced his true self, and Maria had found her strength. They were no longer just individuals, but a team, united by their shared mission. The city was ready to be saved. The city held its breath, a silent observer as Lena, Ben, and Maria prepared for their final confrontation with Thorne. They used the evidence they had gathered to leak Thorne's crimes to the media, creating a public outcry that forced him to go into hiding. This was a calculated move, forcing Thorne to make a desperate move, revealing his location. The stage was set for the final battle. Detective Miller, despite being a fugitive, managed to rally support from a small group of honest cops within the police force. This alliance was a beacon of hope, a sign that the city was not entirely corrupt. They provided Lena with a safe haven and a strategic advantage, but it was clear that they were outnumbered and outgunned. The city was divided, and the lines between good and evil were blurred. Ben, while preparing for the confrontation, had a final encounter with the enforcer. It was a tense exchange, a moment of reckoning that highlighted the paths they had chosen. The enforcer, despite his loyalty to Thorne, showed a flicker of doubt, hinting at a possible redemption. This subplot was a foreshadowing of a potential twist in the final act. The city was waiting for its heroes. Maria, determined to make Thorne pay for her family's death, made a pact with a group of activists. They were ready to support Lena, providing her with a network of eyes and ears throughout the city. This alliance was a sign that the people were rising up, ready to fight for their city. The city was no longer a victim but a participant in its own destiny. Lena, knowing that the final confrontation would be dangerous, had a moment of reflection. She thought about her father, her motivation for fighting for justice, and the people who had placed their trust in her. She was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that she was not alone. The city was her witness. The final pieces were falling into place. The stage was set for the climax, the final showdown between good and evil. The city was on the edge of chaos, and the fate of its people rested on the shoulders of a few brave individuals. The battle for the city was about to begin. The final tensions mounted as Thorn, cornered and desperate, made his last move. He kidnapped Lena's closest colleague, a young journalist named Sarah, using her as leverage to force Lena into a trap. This act of desperation raised the emotional stakes, making the fight personal. Lena had to choose between her mission and the life of her friend. The city held its breath. Ben, conflicted by his past, had a final conversation with Detective Miller. Miller, understanding Ben's internal struggle, urged him to choose the path of redemption. This conversation was a catalyst, solidifying Ben's commitment to Lena and the fight for justice. His past was no longer a burden, but a source of strength. The city was about to witness his transformation. Maria, fueled by her grief and anger, decided to take a risk. She infiltrated Thorne's headquarters, determined to confront him and avenge her family's death. This act of defiance was a gamble, putting her life in danger, but she was ready to face the consequences. Her personal vendetta was now intertwined with the larger fight for justice. The city was her battlefield. The narrative threads began to converge. Lena, knowing that she was walking into a trap, prepared to face Thorne. Ben and Maria, despite their personal challenges, were ready to support her. The police force, divided but determined, was also preparing to intervene. The stage was set for the final showdown. The city was on the edge of chaos. The last obstacles were in place. Thorne, surrounded by his loyal followers, waited for Lena. The enforcer, conflicted by his past, was also present, adding an element of uncertainty. The final confrontation was inevitable, and the city was ready to witness the battle between good and evil. The fate of the city was about to be decided. The emotional stakes were at their peak. Lena, Ben, and Maria had all made sacrifices, and they were ready to face whatever came next. The final confrontation was not just about exposing corruption, but about their personal journeys and the redemption of the city. The city was waiting for its heroes. The climax arrived with a fierce confrontation at Thorne's headquarters. Lena, with Ben and Maria by her side, faced Thorne and his security forces. The enforcer, conflicted by his past, turned against Thorne, revealing his knowledge of Thorne's crimes. This betrayal was a turning point, weakening Thorne's position. Ben, in a display of his transformed self, fought alongside Lena, his skills proving crucial in the battle. The fight was intense, testing their courage and resilience. The city was watching. Maria, driven by her desire for revenge, confronted Thorne directly. In a moment of intense emotion, she exposed his crimes to the world, broadcasting the evidence she had found. Thorne, his power crumbling, tried to escape, but he was cornered by the police, led by Detective Miller. The police force, finally united, brought him to justice. The city was finally free. The subplots reached their resolution. The enforcer, now redeemed, offered his testimony against Thorne, further solidifying his guilt. Ben, having faced his past, was now free to move forward, his loyalty to Lena and the fight for justice unwavering. Maria, having avenged her family, found a new purpose, dedicating her life to fighting for the victims of corruption. The city was healing. The main conflict was resolved. Thorne was arrested, his criminal empire dismantled. The city, finally free from his grip, was ready to rebuild. The fight had been long and arduous, but the power of truth and justice had prevailed. The city was reborn. The thematic closures were clear. Lena's unwavering commitment to truth had inspired the city to fight for justice. Ben's journey from darkness to light highlighted the power of redemption. Maria's transformation from victim to fighter showed the strength of the human spirit. The city had learned its lessons. Now, it is time for you to act. Remember Lena's courage, Ben's redemption, and Maria's resilience. Fight for truth, stand up against corruption, and never let fear silence your voice. The city is yours to protect. In the aftermath of Thorne's downfall, the city began to heal. New leaders, committed to transparency and accountability, emerged, promising a brighter future. The police force was reformed, with Detective Miller leading the charge against corruption. The media, inspired by Lena's courage, became a powerful force for truth, holding power to account. The city was reborn, a testament to the resilience of its people. Lena, having exposed the truth, continued her work as a journalist, her voice amplified by her victory. She used her platform to advocate for press freedom and diversity in media, ensuring that stories like hers would always be heard. Ben, finally at peace with his past, became a mentor to young journalists, sharing his wisdom and experience. Maria, having avenged her family, dedicated her life to fighting for the victims of injustice. The city had its heroes. The moral lesson was clear: the pursuit of truth is a noble endeavor, worthy of any challenge it may entail. The story of Lena, Ben, and Maria was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and justice can prevail. Their courage inspired a generation to stand up against corruption and fight for a better world. The city had learned its lesson. The narrative reached a satisfying closure, but the future held new challenges. Lena, Ben, and Maria knew that the fight for justice was never over, and they were ready to face whatever came next. Their story was a beginning, not an end, a testament to the power of the human spirit. The city was ready for its future. The final image was one of hope and resilience. The city, bathed in the warm glow of a new dawn, was a symbol of rebirth and renewal. The fight had been long and arduous, but the power of truth and justice had prevailed. The city was finally free. Now, go forth and carry the torch of truth. Let the story of Lena, Ben, and Maria be a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, one person can make a difference. Be the change you wish to see in the world, and never let fear silence your voice. The future is in your hands.